Ahoy there, mateys. This is our Halloween episode. Okay. Robert Newton. Oh, pirates never actually talked like that. We don't know that they did. It was a movie, or a bunch of movies, in the 1950s starring the actor Robert Newton. Treasure Island, Long John Silver, Pieces of Eight, some others. He talked like that. And incorporating his own accent from the West Country of England, if I believe, and everyone playing a pirate after that, or a lot of them, just sort of latched onto it. And I think they even tried to retcon history a bit and, say that most pirates came from that part of Britain, so they all talk like that. But pirates came from everywhere that pirates sailed, so not just from the countryside in England. I was zipping around on the interwebs looking for some kid-friendly Halloween stuff to show my daughter, preferably something new. I couldn't find much. She's just getting old enough to where maybe Nightmare Before Christmas could work, but I think maybe next year for that. So I'm zipping around looking for something, and I say to myself, you haven't really used that Disney Plus subscription much lately. And I think they just raised their prices. Maybe we should get something out of it. And I came across, on Disney Plus, Disney Launchpad. Now this fascinated me because I was a big fan of the original Project Greenlight, which you might remember from the early 2000s. And that was a Matt Damon, Ben Affleck show where it was a contest to see which amateur filmmaker would get a budget to make their own Hollywood movie. And the original season is a hoot. The people they got to produce the winning film, they were from the crew of, I think, American Pie, that comedy, and they were just amusing to watch. And then Matt Damon and Ben Affleck would show up, and they'd ramp things up to 11 on occasion. So it was a lot of fun to watch. I really enjoyed it. If you haven't watched it, find it and watch it if you're interested in filmmaking or the filmmaking business. The original season. They tried to bring it back a decade or so later, and it just didn't have that same tone. So anyway, Disney Launchpad, it's a sort of diversity inclusion program at the Disney studio where they find promising new filmmakers with a point of view that's maybe a hard sell in mainstream movies. So they pick those underrepresented voices and fund their first real short films, 15 to 20 minutes each. And they put them all in this collection on Disney Plus called Launchpad. And it's a whole program with classes on film history that the winners take and give them the grounding in making movies. So it's the real deal. And the thing that's interesting to me, and this harkens back to Project Greenlight Season 1, is out of 5 short films per season on Disney Launchpad, at least 2 of them have a horror or supernatural theme, or is at least set against a horror or supernatural backdrop. And that makes sense, because horror is always considered popular, one, and inexpensive to produce, two. Horror has always been a good investment in the movie business, and probably the contestants for Launchpad who were pitching horror, they probably had a little leg up on the others. That's why there's more of them. So I watched them all the movies in Disney Launchpad so far, 2 seasons. And I'm here to report on which ones you might enjoy this Halloween, with or without your kids, given that so many of them are sort of scary movies. Halloween, kid-friendly scary movies. So first up, from Season 1 of Disney Launchpad, Growing Fangs. And I guess that's a play on Growing Pains? From a new director, Anne-Marie Pace. It follows a Mexican-American teenager named Val who comes from a mixed-race family, but the races involved are the human race and the race of vampires who live among us, but by and large are relegated to their own school system. So there's echoes of civil rights issues here, and the film has more to do, though, with nature of friendship and allyship, as Val's best friend is a full-blooded human, and she wants to come out to them as a vampire, all the while currying favor to catch the eye of the beautiful Elsie, who she has a crush on. So there's multiple points of diversity here. In terms of filmmaking, Growing Fangs is a little stilted here and there. For a first-time effort, it's a serviceable little film. In the end, of course, our hero doesn't get the girl, but she inspires others to accept their own natures, and for a short film, that's worth 20-minute investment, if only just. You know, throughout watching these films, I was reminded of a John Cassavetes quote, "Anyone who can make a film, I already love." It's hard to make a film, especially in the director's seat. And that's the point of Disney Launchpad support system and the whole program, I guess. So another film in season 1 of Launchpad also has a supernatural style to it, and it's also one of the better films in the series. It's called The Last of the Chupacabras. It's a good little short film, and I think more so than some of the others, because it knows it's a short film and not a template or sales tool for a feature film. Most of the other films here seem like they'd easily like to become larger in scale, for better or for worse in some cases, but not this one. The Last of the Chupacabras is clearly imagined as one short event, one idea, one brief drawing of one person's rich interior life. It draws it well, it has a sense of warmth and wonder to it, with a few scenes that are scary given the style, but when it's over, it feels complete. It's not trying to take on the world. It's not trying to end bigotry or racism in 20 minutes. And it's not that the other films in Disney Launchpad don't work as shorts. Many of them do. But this film could only work in its current short form. So it's a nice small nugget of perfection. Plus, it's told in a unique way with marionettes, puppetry, and even some claymation at times. The film follows an old woman who is the last of the holdouts in a gentrified touristy area of LA as she plies her trade, pushing her food cart during the day and returning home to her life of imagination and reverie at night, making puppets which seem to embody her cultural history and personal memories. When she invokes the Chupacabra as her last means of hope, her mind goes a little too far and the mythical creature shows up, incarnate in a beautiful puppet creation, completely independent and alive, shades of Pinocchio. At first, it's frightening, but soon it becomes her companion and her solace as she journeys on and accepts herself as the last of her disappearing generation, feeling sorry instead for the encroaching world, the blandness and boredom out there crowding her out. And like all good stories that hit you in the feelings, it works its magic indirectly. We inject the story with our own spirit, whether a sense of our own losses or regrets or nostalgias, and the puppet companion becomes, in a way, our own instrument for solace and the acceptance of our own unique identities. It's the only film in this series that gets this use of symbolism right, in my opinion. Some of the others are a bit on the nose with their emotional work their directors are striving for, and some of the others don't use symbols at all, and that's just fine. But for a truly imaginative short piece that takes on more meaning on more repeat viewings, and that you might actually want to watch a second time, this is the one that is most successful and effective because it works below the surface and leaves you thinking. And the supernatural elements just make for a good Halloween viewing. If I had to guess, I'd say this is the one you and your kids will probably stick around for the most on movie night. Let me know in the comments if I'm right about that. All right, there are 3 other films in season 1, all worth a watch, but let's jump over to season 2 for another genre-inspired piece with The Ghost, directed by Erica Eng. This is the first film of the series that I actually caught, quite by accident, and it made me wonder if I was maybe watching a Halloween Fright Night type collection. But of course, Launchpad isn't that. The Ghost harkens back to maybe a Stephen King-like brand of horror, stories fashioned around and galvanized by a single thematic question. And here it's about, what better subject than family. A young girl named Clarice lives with her family where the dad is disabled and unable to pursue his own dreams or even contribute much at this point. So the mom is working nonstop, probably more than one job. And Clarice's older sister constantly derides her for failing to appreciate their precarious situation and to at least show up for the family rituals like Dad's birthday to celebrate their bond. She's a kid on the brink of losing childhood. and she just wants to play hockey, which in her own way, I guess, is a tribute to her dad's lost career dream in sports. He was a soccer player. After a family argument, Clarice starts to see another young girl lurking around their home in the shadows, and her family members, one by one, disappear into an alternate dimension, where this girl, Elena, has taken Clarice's place and created a dream life where everyone lives in familial bliss. And they've never heard of Clarice. Clarice follows them through the portal and discovers Elena is, of course, the ghost, the spirit of a girl at odds with her own family, but then dying unexpectedly, never getting the chance to set things right. Now Clarice must decide. Is family something she's old enough to appreciate, especially when it comes with sacrifice, which we see demonstrated by all the other members but her? It's a moment that all young people come to, and here it's expressed appropriately enough as a matter of not taking family for granted, and also coming to grips with impermanence and mortality and change. And that helps the ghost lend itself to the constructs of a supernatural horror story. Is it perfectly told and acted? No. But it gets close. And its story, while indulging in cliches, is also complex enough to warrant maybe another rewatch. And this brings us to Maxine, a short film by Nikki Eng about a young woman named Allie who's recently come out to her family and is accepted by them, but not really embraced for who she is, and thus is afraid to invite her girlfriend to the family's annual Hungry Ghost Festival, where food is set out for the spirits of beloved lost family members, and it's a ritual reminiscent of Dia de los Muertos. Now, while rifling through the old family photos, Allie discovers a family member that no one seems to quite remember. Maxine, the woman in the photo, played well by Margaret Cho, is, of course, the homosexual daughter of two of their family members, and is in fact Allie's second cousin, who was effectively erased from the family history. For the same reason, Allie is afraid to assert her own identity within it now. Maxine is a bit more on the nose about its themes of acceptance, but it's well done, well acted and directed, and for all its predictability, it's touching, especially when Maxine finds out that it's never too late to come home again to a loving family, a scene which uses the Hungry Ghost Festival to good effect. As a viewer, I was able to get out in front of this movie a little bit, but hey, it's Halloween, and in the end, it's also a ghost story. So what are you, Orson Welles? In season 2, there's also Project Cece, a film about losing a beloved friend and the dangers of trying to bring them back. Not down by the pet cemetery, but through cloning. It's a comedy that seemed like it might take a more supernatural turn, but it's ultimately about grief. It's well done, if a bit saccharine at times, but with its back from the dead aspirations, it could round out a Halloween time movie night, and it has a touching ending that's worth sticking around for. So effectively, it's 4 out of the 10 films in the Disney Launchpad collection that sit with at least one foot in the kid-friendly horror or supernatural genre. Give them a look and decide if they're right for your movie nights. And if you delve further into the Launchpad collection, these other non-genre titles are especially well done. There's American Eid, and it's perhaps a film that we need right now as two sisters at odds in their new American home demystify their Muslim culture for their schoolmates. There's Let's Be Tigers, beautifully made, also about grief and loss, but mostly hope and childlike wonder and positivity. And I'm excited, actually, to mention The Little Princess, which introduces a young actor, Kalo Moss, as the young boy Gabriel, who is drawn to what are traditionally thought to be feminine things. And he is so genuine, innocent, and just lovable in this role that I wouldn't be surprised to hear that he's destined for greater things as an actor going forward. And everybody in that cast is really good too. There's Beautiful Florida and Black Belts, and each of those in their way are about finding your way within family lineage and earning your place within it without compromising your identity. You can sense a running theme through some of these. The Roof also. It's about a Cheyenne teen looking for acceptance in what's often perceived as a very traditional environment, surprised to discover that his tribe may have some lesser-known factions and traditions within it. There's also Dinner is Served, a very polished film, which is about breaking out of the mold cast for you by your own culture, and in the end, in a weird way, it's about being free to fail, which is not an option in some cultures. And it's also a unique viewpoint that was unexpected in the end. Disney Launchpad now enters its 3rd season coming up. So will you, or someone you know, be perhaps part of it? Do you have a unique background, experience, or cultural viewpoint or voice? Look for the application online, or I'll link it below too. Get in on this thing. They didn't have this stuff when I was growing up. Just do it. Well, that's our Halloween episode. I do hope you have a few fun frights with your young ones Halloween night, and then maybe you'll come home, settle in, and maybe watch something new this year. These are all short films, so give them a try. You have nothing to lose. They're 15 to 20 minutes each, and wow, this is hard to get on. Easier to get off. We hope you'll have fun this Halloween night, and we'll see you soon. Arr. I do have the boots. Your other YouTube friends, do they have the boots? They won't show you the boots. We show you the boots. Arr.